was always the Jag. Always the Jag. Always the Jag. Always the Jag.
Welcome into Always the Jags. Today I'm doing kind of a faster energy episode because I want to kind of get into the energy of free agency. It is right around the corner in March 12th, and what we do in free agency is going to highly impact what we end up doing in the draft. So for me, these are my free agency moves that I would make. Okay, so my first free agent signing that we are going after, this is someone we should have got 2 years ago when he hit the market, is our greatest free agent signing in history, and that is Calais Campbell. Calais Campbell. I know last year I really wanted to sign him and bring him back, but I didn't want to bring him back for like more than $5 million, and I think he went to the Dolphins for around $8 million or something like that. You know, I have to eat those words because we should have offered him $10 million because he had more of an impact than Eric Armstead did for our team. And Calais Campbell can play multiple positions. So by signing him, we get a backup defensive lineman and we get a backup defensive end. We need leadership and mentorship on our defensive line. That's what we need more than anything. Calais Campbell can help develop Mason Smith. He can help continue to develop Trayvon Walker because he's not there yet as that dominating first round pick. And I mean, he can continue helping Josh Allen, you know, because Josh Allen he's great. You know, he's the way he is because of Calais Campbell, but it's like, let's keep it going. Right. And he can even help develop Eric Armstead, or at least take a lot of the pressure off of Eric Armstead because he knows what to do. So that leadership, that guidance, that direction, that 12-year, that veteran mentality, we need more leadership on our defense. We need to go write a blank check for Calais Campbell. When I went online, I was able to get him for a 2-year, $6 million deal that was fully guaranteed. So if the Jaguars wanted to do like a 1-year, $8 million, $9 million, any of those would work, and any of that would transform our defense. I'm not saying that Calais Campbell is going to get us 14 sacks again, but I am saying that he's going to teach Mason Smith. He's going to teach Trayvon Walker. He's going to help some of those young guys on that defensive line get better. And that's what we need. So I would rather sign him than draft Mason Graham, right? Because signing Calais Campbell is an option to not only make your defensive line better as a player, but he can make the other players around him better by teaching them, because that's what he does. And he loves doing it. And that's why he was our greatest signing ever. And that's why he needs to come back. Next, the biggest spot that we need is guard, because I don't think we're going to re-sign Brandon Sheriff, which I'm okay with. I mean, he played very well this year, and I think he's going to earn himself a nice contract in free agency, but I think we can do a little bit better than him. I think we can get someone who played better consistently last year. So for one of those holes in our roster is guard. That spot's going to be taken by Kevin Zeitler from the Detroit Lions. And I think Kevin Zeitler is perfect for us to sign. A lot of people are going for us to sign Will Fries because he's younger and probably more of a long-term answer on the offensive line. But again, I'm under the impression, especially with our GM, Gladstone, I feel very confident in, of us turning into more of a draft and develop team. So that way we can sign guys in free agency who may not be here for the next 5 years, right? Like, we're not going to give Trey Smith, Will Fries deal to Kevin Zeitler because we're not going to expect him to be around here for the next 5 years. We can draft a guard in the maybe third. I think we should draft one in the third round, and he can be our backup. He could be our swing tackle. And he could also be waiting in the wings to take over. And when I was on free agency, I was able to give Kevin Zeitler a 3-year, $12 million deal, which I think is perfect for his value. His grade last year was 86.7, which is exactly the same as Will Fries. But because Will Fries is younger, he's going to get a much bigger deal. And I really wanted to go after Trey Smith and offer him like $21 million a year. And if we feel like we have the cap space for it and we're able to bring him in, I'm okay with it. But I would like to bring in Kevin Zeitler because bringing in him would anchor that line, right? It would give us a veteran presence, and we can have another guy waiting in the wings to develop to slowly be able to take that spot over one day. So my guard pick would be for Kevin Zeitler. He's played for the Ravens, the Lions, played on some of the best offensive lines. I think he's going to end up being a slight upgrade over Brandon Sheriff, and I think we can give him a deal that's team friendly that allows him to be around for the next year or two, and then have another guy take over if his play declines in that time. So that's why my pick for guard is Kevin Zeitler. And lastly, my last free agent signing, the biggest hole we have on our roster is safety. because we need 2 new ones. So we need to double dip. We need to go into free agency and land a big fish. And then we also need to grab somebody in the draft, probably as early as the second round, who can start. So that we can turn our safety position from a weakness to a strength. So with safety, we need to go for the fences, and we need to go out and get Jevon Holland. Jevon Holland, the safety from the Miami Dolphins. Now, one of the reasons why I like signing free agent safeties is because safety is one of those positions that tends to be valued less, right? Like, you can get a really good safety for not that much money. So we could essentially give him the deal that Jesse Bates got. I think when I went on, I offered him a $16 or $17 million deal to be a safety, which is similar to what Jesse Bates got. And I think it was like a 3-year deal. And that would work out perfectly because that would allow him to come in and transform the back of our defense and give us a hard-hitting guy. And then we compare him with someone else in the draft. I thought Andre Cisco was going to be great. I was wrong. And I'm very sad to say that because I wish we were giving Andre Cisco that deal that I want to give to Jevon Holland. But unfortunately, that's just not reality. That's not where we live. He'll go somewhere else. And he'll probably end up doing great, as all the Jaguars players that leave us and go do great elsewhere. So I'm thinking we vulture Jevon Holland from the Dolphins. Now, the Dolphins may make a push to re-sign him, but the Dolphins have a lot of impending free agents. And while he may be the cheapest to sign, safeties also can kind of be the easiest to replace. And I think from the Dolphins' perspective, they're not going to see Jevon Holland as a guy that they have to have. They're going to look at their offensive line as guys they have to have because Tua keeps getting knocked around. And they're going to try to retain Tyreek Hill. And you got to make him happy by keeping your line intact and maybe getting some more weapons on offense. That's my choice right there. I would go with Jevon Holland. So we don't have to have a super active free agency. With the Jaguars, it kind of like rotates from year to year. We have like a super active free agency, and then we have a very quiet one where we don't really do anything. And then we have another super active one, like 2022 when Doug Peterson came in, super active. We got Christian Kirk, we got Evan Ingram, we got Foye Oluokun. We had cap space. We were playing around with it and just signing guys. We got Rayshon Jenkins that year. I think we signed Darius Williams that year, just signing guys all over the place. And then the next year, because we felt like our roster was kind of set, we just kind of sat back and just like, okay, when Calvin Ridley comes, that was our free agent addition. And then that passed. And then now we had to release guys because their contracts were up and we had to replace them. So then we brought in a whole bunch of other guys. We brought in Eric Armstead, brought in Ronald Darby to replace Darnell Williams. We brought in Mitch Morse because we needed a center. We brought in a lot of different guys in order to help us at different positions. And now this year, I feel like it's just going to be about patching holes, right? And the draft can help us take care of the rest of some of those holes. So obviously our biggest need is cornerback. I think that we should focus our attention to the draft on cornerback because I like Travis Hunter or Will Johnson. And while it's probably rare that we're going to end up with Travis Hunter, I do like Will Johnson. I think he can end up becoming our number 1 cornerback. And if Tyson Campbell is our number 2 cornerback, that is a very good cornerback room. I don't know if Travis Hunter will eventually become our number 1. I think he should start as the number 2. Same for Will Johnson. I do really like Mason Graham, but I do think it's more important for us to get our cornerback room. So these are my free agency takes. I'm next going to do a pre-free agency mock draft for the Jaguars. I think I kind of want to do a pre-free agency first round mock draft because I like to predict what every team is going to do. And then obviously once we get into free agency, all of that changes. So for right now, this is my free agency wish list: Calais Campbell, Jevon Holland, and Kevin Zeitler. Bring me these 3 guys. We will have a good season. I promise you. Thank you guys for watching. And again, remember, it was always the Jags.